Remember our commitment here. Basically, what you've chosen to do with negotiators is you'll make a 5-minute statement, and I have a timekeeper here.
Right.
And what will happen is you'll go ahead and, during that 5-minute statement, after that point, if we have time for questions, we'll go ahead and ask you a couple of questions. At that point, you made the commitment. You basically said to the effect of, I will walk out of the room immediately, without violence, without weapons, and you end the situation peacefully with police officers. Am I right on that?
Yes.
All right. Let's. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and make sure the timekeeper is ready, so that way, when I stop, when I say go ahead, we will go ahead and start with the 5 minutes that you'd like to be able to say what you have to say. All right? All right. Timekeeper, would you go ahead and start the 5 minutes? Patrick, please go ahead.
Yes. Basically, what we're trying to do, what I wanted to say here is, why would men like myself decide to do what we have done here? Okay? Because I don't think you probably do, but the people don't realize it, that, you know, after 17 years of incarceration, you know, that I was actually up for parole when I made the decision to join in this escape.
If I could talk to Donald now, that would be great.
Okay, here he is.
Thank you very much, Patrick.
Yes.
Right now, as we're waiting, Donald Newbury is about to go on the phone with us. He is going to give his 5 minutes, and that way he can then honor his commitment as well with officers to end the situation peacefully. Donald, are you on the line with me?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Donald, and I assume that you're watching television. If you could, just to make sure, just tell Patrick to go ahead and keep that, keep the volume down low, so that way there won't be any feedback.
All right, I got the remote.
Okay, great. Okay, Donald, at this point, why don't you go ahead? I have the timekeeper waiting. If you could, go ahead and, when I end, go ahead and start with your 5 minutes, all right?
All right.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Well, the way I see it is, I had to make a statement. Our judicial system in the state of Texas has really gone to the pits.
All right, Donald, at this point,
Yes.
the timekeeper has indicated to me that you have made your 5-minute statement. You and Patrick, as part of your commitment with the negotiating team, and basically your commitment with 11 News and myself.
Yes.
As honorable men, you must go outside immediately.
No problem.
To resolve the situation peacefully, and at this point, without weapons, and as per your agreement, don't hang up the phone though.
No.
But if you could, go ahead and just honor your agreement, so that way we can all end the situation peacefully. Your message and Patrick's message have gotten across.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. I'm going to put the phone down, and stand up and take my shirt off and stuff, get the door ready to come out.
Absolutely. Please leave the phone. Do not hang up the phone. Thank you, sir. One in custody. We don't know which one as of yet, but Patrick Murphy and Donald Newbury, you just heard on the phone, they were talking about the abhorrent conditions they believe are going on in the Texas Department of Corrections, and what they believe is also important to be able to change. Obviously, their message got across. You heard it.
Both in custody safely.
Both are in custody safely. So we have ended the situation here. Right now, as we're waiting, Donald Newbury is about to go on the phone with us. He is going to give his 5 minutes, and that way he can then honor his commitment as well with officers to end the situation peacefully. Donald, are you on the line with me?
Yes, I am.
Hours of negotiations between the convicts, the FBI, Springs Police, and other law enforcement had gotten us to this point. The Holiday Inn is surrounded. No way in, no way out for the two men. Talking has to be the peaceful option.
Yeah, we look at time as an ally for us, and as long as we're talking, we figure we're making progress.
And how long are you out here for?
As long as it takes.
11 News got the call at 11:30 p.m. after negotiators made a deal with the two fugitives. They asked for live airtime on MSNBC or KKTV. Negotiators decided to call us. The agreement, 5 minutes, uninterrupted, on the phone with these men. They were in room 426. We set up to go live on the phone with them in an office in another part of the hotel. Negotiators were a few doors down from me, also listening.
The officers approached us about the possibility of a face-to-face meeting between Eric and one of the escapees at a time. They assured us it would be safe, and Eric agreed. But as it turned out, they changed their minds and wound up doing it over the telephone.
When the phone negotiations got the green light, officers briefed me on hot phrases and words that could set the fugitives off, like the word surrender. They worried that the fugitives would feel like losers in this situation and react violently. I had a chance to listen to negotiations here at the Holiday Inn between officers and Newbury and Murphy for a couple of hours or so. And the one thing that struck me was they sounded calm, but they did make thinly veiled threats. Like one time, Newbury said, "We're heavy hitters," meaning he had weapons inside his room, and he was ready to use them. Patrick spoke for just a few minutes, but the deal was 5 minutes. I filled the time with other questions.
You and Patrick, as part of your commitment with the negotiating team and basically your commitment with 11 News and myself.
Yes.
As honorable men, you must go outside immediately.
No problem.
To resolve the situation peacefully.
The reason you saw them walk outside without shirts, SWAT teams needed to be sure they weren't carrying weapons.
Both in custody safely.
Both are in custody safely.
And you heard me say several times not to hang up the phone after the two men surrendered. Law enforcement sent in a team of experts into the room to make sure the men didn't leave explosives behind. And they were listening on the phone to the team that was inside. They found only weapons, and the recapture of the Texas 7 ended.
It would, authorities predicted, almost surely come to a bloody end. We now know what ultimately happened.
I had a gut feeling, gut instinct that they would honor what they said.
We could probably expect one of four things to happen, three of which were bad. One would be that they would get their interview on camera, live interview, and then just renege on their promise and just say, we're not going to come out. We've had that happen to us before. A second thing they could have done after the interview is decide to commit suicide, just like Mr. Harper did the day before. A third thing that could have happened is that they would decide for a classic push-out, much like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid in the movie, where they just take as many weapons as they can, come out and confront the officers on the inner perimeter and get involved in a firefight.
The way I see it is I had to make a statement. Our judicial system in the state of Texas has really gone to the pits.
To Mr. Singer's credit, where it might have been typical, perhaps, to try to get a couple of questions in, he said thank you to the person he was talking to and said,
you have made your 5-minute statement. You and Patrick, as part of your commitment with the negotiating team and basically your commitment with 11 News and myself.
Yes. As
honorable men, you must go outside immediately.
No problem.
To resolve the situation peacefully, and at this point, without weapons.
All right. I'm going to put the phone down, then we stand up and take my shirt off and stuff, get the door ready to come out.
We could hear them moving objects away from the door where they had barricaded.
They decided that they wanted to hold hands as they gave up, and basically they backed out the front door of their hotel room.
People say, well, it's a good thing because, you know, the cops made sure this happened without anyone getting hurt. And yet, every time you give in to the demands of terrorists or criminals and let them say, hey, we want to do this first, don't you go down a kind of a slippery slope?
The police ask you to interview these two guys to surrender 10 minutes of airtime. Is there any way you could have said no? Would any TV station have said no?
Well, I can't speak for any TV station. I can speak for 11 News and myself. And what we decided, this wasn't just a decision we just entered upon lightly. Basically what happened was when they called, they said first that they wanted me to be part of the negotiations. Our news director, myself, Dave Beach, Dave Downey, and several others here in the newsroom, we discussed it for a few moments. And the first thing we said was, one, we own this story from start to finish. We want to continue, as a good journalist would do, want to talk to the people involved. Secondly, we also felt at that moment that there were lives at stake. Isn't that the duty of a journalist, to help others? And isn't this the ultimate responsibility, to save a life?
All day, the station defended its choice, claiming it was able to maintain objective coverage. To CEO Professor Lee Hood, it was the right call.
Just because you're a journalist doesn't mean you aren't also a citizen of that community. There is such a thing as a healthy objective distance. But in some cases, you may end up crossing that line and becoming a citizen instead of a journalist.
NBC News in depth tonight, the surrender of the last of the Texas 7 escaped convicts and the local television anchorman who was very surprised to find himself in the middle of the biggest story of his life, and not just as a reporter. He became a key player in the last dramatic hours. In depth tonight, here's NBC's Jim Cummins.
I'm going to put the phone down, then we stand up and take my shirt off and stuff, get the door ready to come out.
Absolutely.
This 20-year veteran of the TV news business and first-time negotiator insists he plays a small role in a peaceful settlement of a dangerous standoff. But the authorities are grateful. Eric Singer was here at the end. Jim Cummins, NBC News, Colorado Springs.